What's up, Mirror here. In this guide we'll go over Thorns Invoker build for Season 16. This guide will cover all the required equipment, spells and ideal stats. Now before we continue, just a quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, it helps a lot. And now a quick summary for you guys that already know how this build works, what has changed for Season 16. The main thing is that Thorns set got buffed, so now the second set bonus is, it used to be 140, now it's 350, and the sixth set bonus is, it used to be 5,400, now it's 15,000, which is huge. And this makes this set pretty competitive with all other sets, and if you watch the other build guides on my channel for Crusader, all the sets are pretty equal now. Maybe some set will be the top set for the season, but I'm not sure which one it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be Hammer, but other three sets are pretty equal in my opinion. I don't think Hammer will be the top set, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a big fan of Hammer add-in, so that's maybe it, but yeah. Other than that, we got for Season 16 Ring of Royal Grandeur as permanent buff, so you don't need to have it in a cube, or you have to have it here, so you just get it all the time. And that means we can have one more item that's not a set item. So we have 5 pieces of Invoker set, and we can have these Sanguary's One Bracers, and we can also have Heart of Iron. Those are my picks for what to slide in. And if you have a better idea what I should put in, please let me know in the comments. I'm really interested. It might help me for when I start playing in the season. But I think those are the best choices in. But I may be wrong, so yeah. And now let's kind of dive a bit deeper into the build if you haven't played it before. Now Thorns is a pretty unique build compared to other builds in terms. It deals damage, it scales damage of Thorns, not of your weapon damage. This means that you don't need weapon that does any damage, you don't care about damage, so you can simply reroll your primary damaging stat into something else. This makes your weapon basically a stat stick. And here is my stat stick, the ideal one. That's Pig Sticker, because it's the fastest weapon in the game. You really want to get Pig Sticker. There isn't another weapon that hits this fast, and we really want a fast weapon. And definitely prioritize getting life on hit everywhere until you are able to survive. As soon as you kind of stop dying, then you have enough life per hit. But if you find yourself getting killed a lot, you need life per hit. Other than that, strength, you definitely need strength to scale up your damage. Then vitality to survive, of course. Attack speed is always a nice stat. Cooldown reductions are also really nice, so you can have your form all the time. Now, definitely, as you get items, try to balance that out, but prioritize life on hit first, then you can prioritize maybe a cooldown reduction, then either strength or attack speed, depends how many paragon points you have, but that's kind of what you should go for. Now let's kind of go over how Thorns set work. For 2 set bonus, you get your Thorns damage now hits all enemies in 15 yards around you. Each time you hit an enemy with Punish on Slash, so we'll have to use either Punish or Slash, or block an attack, your Thorns is increased by 350. So yeah, we will also want to have a high block chance. This is why we are going to be using Justice Lantern, but we'll get to that in a bit. So we want to be using Punish. Actually, Slash is not that great for this, mainly because we can scale up our attack speed here, and it's also going to give us extra block chance. So you want to have a rune for attack speed, and you want to be using punish, not slash. Slash doesn't work that well. It's going to work, but it's not going to be as good as punish. For set bonus, you take 50% less damage for 20 seconds after damaging an enemy with bombardment. Now, where is bombardment? Well, we don't have it here. No bombardment. But we can use Belt of the Trove, which is going to call down bombardment on random nearby enemies every 6 seconds, and the buff lasts for 20 seconds, so the overlap is pretty big, and you're going to have it all the time. So 50% less damage all the time. Now for last set bonus, your attack speed of Punish and Slash is increased by 50%. This is cool. And you deal, it used to be less, but now it's a huge boost to your Thorns damage. This makes this build pretty nice for this season. And that's kind of all for the set. Now what pieces of the set you should be using? I think what I have is ideal, so go for boots, go for pants, gloves, shoulders, and helm. There are also bracers, but yeah, like you want to be using this. So for let's kind of go over the stats. What should you go for on your set? For boots, strength, vitality, resistances, regeneration if you can get it, but that's pretty standard. For pants, again, strength, resistances here if you can get that, and life per second, it's also cool. Then let's see, for gloves, definitely try to get some life per hit. As I've been saying, you need life per hit to survive. However, if you're not dying, then it's okay to get other things. You can get vitality or something else. Cooldown reduction, pretty important also, and attack speed. Either one of those works pretty well. Attack speed is a bit weird with timings. You could get basically no return in investment on attack speed because it has to be timed with your frames per second or something weird. I'm not sure. Sometimes attack speed is weird, but it works. Trust me, just get some attack speed, it's going to make a difference. For your shoulders, you should try to get cooldown reduction on it, maybe some percent life, because percent life is pretty cool in terms that you cannot get it from your paragons. You can get vitality from paragons, but percent life is going to scale up as you get more paragon points, and that's pretty cool. But for this set, because it's it doesn't need the usual stats that other sets need, you can have also strength and vitality and percent life and cooldown reduction, because you don't need other things. And for headpiece, you usually get crit here, but for this set you don't need crit chance or crit damage, so you go for resistances, percent life, life per hit. So this set is, because it's not going for those usual stats, it's pretty tanky. And it's a single target build, as you can see me play in the background. For well, we'll get to travelers in a second. So we have gone over the set. Now let's go over. We already seen Pig Sticker. Now let's go over the other weapon. Well, not weapon, but shield. You want to be using this particular shield because enemies affected by provoke, and we're using provoke, are going to take double damage from your turns. This is a huge deal, so definitely try to get this. You can also get Akarat's Awakening and use that in your shield slot, and then use this in a cube, but I think this is better probably because this has a percent here. Every successful block has 20 to 25. If you cube it, it's going to be 25 all the time. Chance to reduce your cooldowns by 1 second. So this works pretty well for this build. So yeah, definitely get those two shields. And for other things, we need the Justice Lantern. This is going to be pretty huge because it's going to give you additional block chance, and it's also going to give you gains damage reduction equal to 55% of your block chance. This is huge deal. So the block amount is pretty lackluster, so if you see how much damage you're going to block, that's nothing, man, for higher level rifts. But with Justice Lantern, that's pretty nice, so definitely get Justice Lantern. Here you want to get the stats as usual: attack speed, life per hit, cooldown reduction, and if you can get some strength, vitality, it's also okay. And you want to put Bane of the Trapped in one of the spots, so it doesn't have to be in Justice Lantern, but yes, Bane of the Trapped, because this increases the damage against enemies under effect of control impairing effects by amount, and you also gain an aura that's going to reduce the movement speed of the enemies, making this work by itself. So that's an extra damage there. For other slot, ring slot and amulet slot, because this is a set, the Travelers, this is going to, while moving, damage taken is reduced by 15%, while standing still damage dealt is increased by 100%. This is a huge deal for this set, because you're going to be using your horse to get around, and once you stop moving, you're going to stand still, and until the enemy is dead, you're not going to be moving. So while standing still, you're going to deal a lot more damage, which is pretty nice. And you want to be using Bane of Stricken in one slot, so for Bane of Stricken, this is a must for pushing greater rifts, because it's going to increase your damage against Rift Guardians, and also the longer you fight the enemy, basically each attack you make against the enemy increases the damage it takes by amount. And since this build is hitting really fast, this you put it and forget about it. There isn't a better thing to put. And even for speed variance, this is the best thing to simply put in. And we have to have and I haven't talked about stats, but it's pretty similar on all the gear. Just get resistances, attack speed, life per hit, strength. That's kind of what you should go for, or percent life. So I'm kind of going to stop talking about that because it's kind of not important. For Traveler's Pledge, for Amulet, you can get here also physical damage and also strength, life per hit. Yeah, so that's kind of deal there. What haven't we gone over? We kind of seen already Belt of Trove, what it does, bombardment, and also the stats are pretty much the similar on all. So get strength, vitality, resistances, percent life. And for Sanguaries, you should also get physical damage, because that boosts your Thorns damage. And you should also try to get the standard here, also strength, resistance, life per hit. And here I haven't said anything about the gem here, so you want to be using the Thorns gem, so it's going to boost your Thorns damage, and taunt the first enemy hit by your primary skill for 2 seconds. Not important, but it's going to boost your Thorns damage. So I think we kind of gone over all the gear, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm mistaken. We didn't go. Haven't seen Aquila's, and this is pretty nice for us, because while above 90% primary resource, all damage taken is reduced by 15%. And since we're not going to be using resource spending attack, we're going to have this all the time, which is cool. Also, for all the gear, I think, well, the Thorns set usually rolls secondary Thorns damage, but other gear doesn't, so you should try to get Thorns damage on all of your gear as a secondary stat. I kinda it slipped by, but try to get it everywhere if you can. So that's pretty huge deal to have it. And now let's kind of go over our skills. So we already got our Punish, that's the thing that we're going to be dealing damage. We want to be using Provoke, and that is mainly to, well, Wrath Regeneration is not, for this build is not important, but we can slow down enemies and also reduce their attack speed, which is a really nice thing. For moving around, we want to be using our horse, and I think increased duration, endurance is probably your best bet here. You can put something else, but since the main point is to move really fast from one elite to a next elite and kill them really fast, then the endurance is the best thing to go. Akarat's Champion with Profit, this is a standard for all the builds. You simply don't use any other rune here. It's going to boost your damage. It also is going to give you, the first time you take a fatal damage, you're going to be revived on full HP every time. Not every time, but once per activation. The second time you activate Akarat Champion, is going to reset that cooldown basically on the Profit. So that's cool. Law of Justice, Decaying Strength. This is pretty nice. It's going to give you extra resistances, and the rune is going to also reduce the damage taken. So what it does, while the law is empowered, so while you use it, not passively, but when you use it, any enemy who attacks you or your allies will have their damage reduced by 15%, and that stacks up to 60. So that's pretty nice for survivability. For again, even more survivability, we use Iron Skin. You can go here with either with while active your, for rune, while active your thorns is increased by 300%, or you can even try flash if you're doing enough damage and you just want to be moving through enemies. That's going to be pretty nice. But I think the reflective skin is probably the best. For your passives, you want to go with favor, because you're using one-handers, extra attack speed and cooldowns, pretty standard. You don't want to be playing this build without Iron Maiden, because it's going to increase your Thorns damage. Next thing, you should probably get this for even more attack speed, but you could also get something else. I'm kind of partial to this. You can get Indestructible here if you happen to be dying, but that shouldn't really be happening that much, so this is pretty okay. Finery is the best passive that you can have on Crusader. I usually put it, and I never change it again, because for every socketed gem it's going to increase your strength, and this gets pretty huge when you scale this up with Paragons. For the cube, we already talked about Akarat's Awakening, and we seen Heart of Iron. So Heart of Iron is going to give you, actually I kind of just mentioned it, I didn't say what it does, but it's going to give you Thorns equal to 300% of your vitality. Now this isn't that huge of a deal, because you do have vitality, but it's not that huge of a deal. And you would probably, if you don't have if you don't have Ring of Royal Grandeur for Season 17, you would probably get rid of Heart of Iron, in my opinion. But I don't know, that's my opinion just. And for the last slot, you would probably slide in Unity for solo play, or something else if you're in a group. Depends what your group needs. You can that's for you to decide. There are a few options, but Unity is probably the best for a solo play. I usually have it on. You can do... Does Convention of Elements increase damage for physical? I kinda forget about that. I've played this almost exclusively with Unity for solo play, but you can also do that. I forget the name of the ring that throws that circle that boosts damage. Yeah, okay, that's Oculus, I think. Yeah, that's Oculus. You can do that one. I don't know. That's for you to decide with your party members. And that's kind of all that I have to say for this build guide. I really hope that you're enjoying this. If you do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you have some questions, ask them in the comments. I will try to answer them as soon as I can. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.